that needs to be had. We get confused a lot of the times because while 7 to 8 hours in one go, say from 10 p.m. till 6 a.m., is perceived to be the norm, how many of us actually sleep that long? And how many of us really get that much sleep? Because for some of us, we don't sleep that much, right? To those who sleep differs from this ideal, people can believe that they have a sleeping disorder. We throw names at it. You're like, oh, I'm an insomniac. I don't sleep all those hours. And it's sometimes not necessarily the case. Dr. Alison, who joins me this evening, this is Dr. Alison Bentley. He's been working and seeing patients with sleep problems for 30 years and helped run the first diagnostic sleep lab in South Africa. And Dr. Alison believes there is some room for deviation from commonly cited normal sleep in terms of three main components. And those are duration of sleep, the timing of sleep, and the solidity. Dr. Alison, thank you so much for joining me.
That's a great pleasure. That's quite an intro.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited for this conversation because I'm one of the people that in the past, before I read up on sleep and what could be a sleeping disorder and not, used to think I'm an insomniac. And a lot of us throw that word around, or that name around, especially on social media. If we could start with that, what is insomnia?
Well, people think that if they don't sleep 8 hours, they must have insomnia. Like that's the definition. And it's not the definition. The definition of insomnia is, yes, there's a deficit in hours of sleep at night, but there has to be a drop-off in daytime function. So you need to be in a situation where during the day you're kind of going, I'm not functioning well enough because I haven't slept enough. So if you're somebody who gets 5 hours of sleep routinely, and that's all you can get, but during the day, you're fine the whole day, you rock on the whole day, no symptoms of tiredness, concentration's fine, then you don't have a deficit, okay? Then you're just a short sleeper. And this normal of 7 to 8 hours is just not normal. I mean, we are not the same.
Yeah.
You just have to look at us to know that we are not all one thing.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we don't look the same, we don't sound the same, we don't think the same. And so it doesn't make sense that we all have to sleep the same as well. Like that's, you know, just intrinsically it doesn't make sense that everybody has to get 7 to 8 hours. And so the majority of the population do. I mean, you know, that's just how it works. But it's the average, it's not the normal.
So would you say, now we can move that from saying it's normal sleep to the average person or average sleep that one should get is 6 to 8 hours?
Well, that's international data. It's not even South African data. So we may be different. So there is some evidence. There's one study from, I think it's Kailicha in Cape Town, which shows that young black women, their average is more like 8 to 9 hours rather than 7 to 8 hours. You know, so we might be different to the rest of the world.
9 hours of sleep, I would feel like I'm dead. That sounds so long. I'm so bad. I'm an early riser and I sleep pretty late. But, I mean, I was saying now that you believe that there's some room for deviation from commonly cited normal sleep, right? From what we know as normal sleep. And the three components that you mentioned, being duration, timing, and solidity.
Yeah.
Please, can you explain what these are?
Yeah, so we've spoken about duration, all right, that 7 to 8 hours is the average, it's not the normal.
Yeah.
You can be quite okay on 5 hours of sleep, but you need to be okay. There's no kind of, the deviation is not, I manage on 4 hours during the week and then I hit 10 hours on the weekend. That's not a normal, that's not a naturally short sleeper. That's just sleep deprivation. So it is about this consistent, that 5 hours is enough for you. That's duration. Then timing, you kind of mentioned 10 to 6, and that is, again, average. Okay. But there are some people who want to go to bed at 9 o'clock at night, get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, super perky, off to the gym, you know, like they're wide awake and great. I have no idea what that feels like. Not a clue. I just don't.
It's the same as me. I drag myself out of bed.
No, exactly. I'm the kind of person who would much rather go to bed at 11:30 midnight, and 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock is my natural wake up time. That's where I'm at. So the timing again can vary, and that seems to be genetic. You know, it seems to be that you're either an owl, i.e. go to bed late, wake up late, or a lark, and you wake up early or go to bed early and wake up early. And I mean, sometimes we find that jobs kind of are dictated by this. So for example, if you're going to run a restaurant, you must be an owl. Like you must only need to go to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning. Do you know what I mean? If you're going to be a cyclist, and you need to go out and cycle at 4:30 in the morning, best you be a lark. Because, you know, you and I trying to get up at 4:30 in the morning, like, we're not going to make it.
Yeah.
We're just not, you know. So it does kind of restrict some people in what they want to do. I mean, the saddest people I get as patients are those people who are naturally owls and want to be cyclists and want to wake up super, you know, energetic at 4:30 in the morning. And I kind of go, listen, I'm kind of good, but I'm not God. You know, I can't, like...
You can't sleep at 1 a.m. and wake up at 4:30 and expect me to do everything for you.
No, I can't change your genes. I mean, I just can't do that. Then solidity is about, like, do we have to have this solid one block of sleep? Like, is that normal? Now, in like very long ago, like in the 1500s, people would sleep was in two pieces. So we'd come home from, you know, usually a very manual job in the fields or something like that. Come home, sleep when it got dark because we were tired, sleep for a couple of hours, be up for a couple of hours in the middle of the night, and then get another couple of hours before we started work the next day. And so this idea that it has to be a solid 6 hours or 7 hours or 8 hours with no breaks in between is also unreasonable, given that we wake up every hour and a half during the night anyway.
I won't lie, that's how I sleep, because I get home after midnight, right? And I'll probably fall asleep around 2 a.m., but I'm always up around like 6, 7 a.m. Then I'll like have coffee, whatever, take the puppy outside. But I'll definitely have a nap again around midday.
Yes.
2-3 hours again of good sleep and then come to work. So I'm more that kind of sleeper. But we were talking earlier with Ayabonga about how, and I said this when I started the conversation, that a lot of us then don't know the difference between a sleeping disorder and just not sleeping well. How would you define a sleeping disorder?
So for me, a sleeping disorder is if you're aware that there's a deficit in your sleep. Now, that could either be hours, so quantity, or it could be quality, that you get 7 or 8 hours, but you wake up feeling awful, don't feel as though you've slept properly, sleepy during the day. So it's really, the sleep disorder is about the daytime function. Okay, like if you are sleepy during the day, tired during the day, and you're not getting a refreshing sleep at night, then we kind of go, there's something wrong with your sleep.
Now, you've just given me the signs, and I'm glad, but can it be rectified? Can someone just come to you, to your office, and be like, okay, this is the issue I have. Well, how can it be rectified?
Yeah, okay. So the nice thing about working in sleep medicine is pretty much all of them can be treated.
Yeah.
I mean, very few of them can be cured, but they can be treated. So if it's snoring or sleep apnea, then it ranges from going to see an ear, nose, and throat surgeon to losing weight to going on a machine to help you breathe, depending on how bad it is. If it's insomnia, it's about if there is a cause like restless leg syndrome, then we can treat that. If it's about the fact that so you're not an owl, you're like an extreme owl. So young men usually get this, and they can only go to sleep at 2 o'clock in the morning and sleep till 11. So that can be resolved. If it's a psychological form of insomnia, so started with some stressful event, and now is just being maintained by a fear of sleep, really, and getting anxious about your sleep, then that can be treated as well. So, but the kind of treatment is obviously dependent on what is actually causing this problem. And there's I won't say there's 100. You know, people talk about 85 different sleep disorders. There's literally 5. I mean, it's not. The 85 are like really weird ones.
Dr. Alison, after this entire conversation, what's the one thing you want people to take home about sleep? What should we take home on sleep tonight?
So the most important thing you can do is find out for yourself how much you need to sleep, when you need to sleep, and then go with that. Because if you try to beat your biology, you're going to lose. So it's best to go with find out what your biology is, go with it, have a regular kind of amount of sleep at the right time for your body, and then you're likely to sleep well.
Dr. Alison, thank you so much for joining me. I hope that everyone that's listening is going to try and find the right way they should be sleeping. I understand what you're saying about the fact that for some of us it's genetic, and maybe we are more likely to like sleep very late and wake up pretty early, or early too early, or late too early. And we just have to find our rhythm individually, because it's all different for all of us. But thank you so much for joining me.
Exactly. It's a great pleasure. Have a good evening.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. That's Dr. Alison Bentley. What I know for sure is that she's not going to bed right now because she's an owl. She's going to be sleeping around midnight, which is okay. And I really hope that you get help, the help that you need. Because a lot of the times, we struggle with our sleep, and you think it's something really bad or really light, and you don't attend to it, and there's an actual issue. And I like what you said about how, a lot of times when we're stressed or we're anxious, people end up having a fear of sleep, and you're not sleeping as much as you should. But then that lingers and it sticks around. Now it becomes an issue where you just don't get enough sleep and you're not aware of it. Oh, Siri, shut up. But that was my conversation with Dr. Alison. Hopefully it'll be of help to those of you that need it. When I return, Mo and Pindi are already in studio. We're going to be talking their love story. It's the month of love, my darling. We're going to do everything we can to get all the juicy coaching tips they have out of them to I guess, help us maintain healthy working relationships. This is Metro FM.
Metro FM. It's where you're